Welcome to the webinar explaining dining room expectations. It is our goal to promote the best dining environment we can for all of our residents. A pleasurable dining experience is very important. Think of a dining experience you've had at a fancy restaurant versus one of your worst dining experiences. What do you envision in your head? Where does the Valley Elder Care dining experience fit in? How can we improve the dining experience for our residents? Teamwork is very important. Working together amongst departments is vital. Respect of other positions is important. We have to realize we're all trained and specialized in different areas and need to work together to problem solve and make the best dining experience we can for our residents. One of the ways to achieve optimal nutritional status is a pleasurable dining experience that the resident will enjoy coming to. Teamwork is a positive win and can only add to that experience. During this presentation, we will be breaking down the dining room process into the following categories: seating assignments, learning the meal service, service itself, infection control, meal setup, including placemats and types of assist, as well as additional duties. Seating assignments can be tricky, and the dietitians are responsible for choosing spots in the dining room. It is important to remember that Valley Transitions does not have seating assignments. We attempt to find the best place for a resident upon move-in, but additional moves may be necessary according to resident preferences, their needs, positioning, etc. It is also important to remember that the main dining room may not be appropriate for all residents. Knowing how the meal service works will make the process smoother. There are seating charts posted daily in each dining room. Each spot in the dining room is set for a resident's specific needs, which may include a special color placemat and adaptive equipment. Part of the process may be filling out menus. We have select menus that the long-term care dining rooms will fill out for the next day at the lunch meal. Valley Transitions will fill out a menu at every meal. Some residents are unable to use a select menu and they will have a meal card. If these residents have food requests, check with dietary to see if the request can be accommodated based on their diet type and texture. Every resident has a choice regardless if they are on a select menu or a meal card. If you are unsure of a resident's diet type or texture, please refer to dietary, or it can be found under the Care Plan Cardex section on your iPod. Our dining rooms are also shared spaces. It is very important to be aware of the dining times and be present. We encourage residents to arrive at meals 15 minutes prior to service time, with CNAs arriving at least 5 minutes prior to service time. Serving complete tables is a priority. This has been a deficiency noted by state in the past. We have made great progress in this area, but it does remain a priority and continues to be monitored. Our expectation is that all residents present at the table will be served together before moving on to the next table. If a resident arrives late to the table and his or her table has already been served, it is the staff's responsibility to inform dining at the service kitchen window so that their tray can be served as soon as possible. Research has shown that social interaction increases oral intake. In your own personal experience, isn't it more enjoyable to dine with others versus alone? Come to the dining room prepared to serve the meal, with your hair tied back if appropriate and your hands clean. Hand sanitizer is available in multiple areas in every dining room. Remember to offer sanitizer to the residents as well when entering the dining room. Pay attention to what you do with your hands. Avoid touching your hair, face, nose, etc. If you find yourself doing that, please wash, sanitize your hands again before moving on. Gloves are also available in the dining room and to use when necessary. Please do not put gloves in your pocket. Grab a clean pair with every tray if necessary. Bare hands should never come in contact with food, straw ends, or rims of drinking glasses. Use gloves when peeling eggs, feeding toast, removing muffin wrappers, opening buns, etc. As the server, you have the bottom half of the glass, the resident gets the top half. Meal trays should always be carried with 2 hands in front of your torso. They should not be carried on the shoulder or by your mouth. And remember, while it's acceptable for a staff member to drink coffee or water while seated and assisting a resident to dine, it is not acceptable to have a drink while serving residents or at the service window. If you step away from the serving line to have a drink, you must sanitize your hands prior to serving the next tray. There is a lot to be mindful of when passing meal trays. Please pass the trays as they are served from the kitchen window. Be mindful, read and reread the name on the menu. Tray mix-ups are avoidable, and they are always taken seriously. They could result in a potential harm to that resident if they receive the wrong texture of food or if they receive foods that they are allergic to. Call the resident by their preferred name. Cover-ups and fluids should be offered when a resident is seated at the table. Please do not put the cover-ups at the tables prior to arrival, as they may not want one. Remove items from the tray and provide the appropriate assistance, using phrases such as, "Here, let me help you," versus "Do you want help?" as they may decline but actually need that assistance. Examples of setup assistance you can provide include cutting up meat, taking wrappers off muffins, buttering bread, opening condiments, pouring their beverages into glasses, asking if they want salt or pepper, and just generally making sure they are okay with the meal they received. We have had a deficiency in the past regarding supplements not being opened. Please be sure to open the supplements that the residents receive. If they do not like the supplement, offer them a substitute. With the meal service, think of yourself as a waiter or a waitress and how you would want to be treated. Are there ways that we can improve our service? All residents will have a placemat at their seating assignment. You may notice additional colored placemats at certain seating assignments, such as green, red, or yellow. These placemats are used as a visual cue to identify special accommodations. A green placemat is used to identify residents requiring thickened liquids. You will find a sticker with the letter N, H, or pudding on it to identify the level of thickness required for that resident. Please confirm that the appropriate texture is given. Check with dietary if you have any questions. And as mentioned previously, you can also check the care plan or the Cardex available on your iPod, which is updated with current information. A red placemat identifies residents that are fluid restricted. The allowed fluids are divided between meals and nursing. Please offer fluids with the meal versus prior to the meal to make sure that they are included properly. Dietary staff will provide direction with the allowed fluids, which has been predetermined by dietitians based on the doctor orders, and also what counts as a fluid, as there are some foods that count as a liquid. A yellow placemat is used to identify the residents that require physical assistance to consume a meal. When passing a tray to a resident with a yellow liner, you are required to sit and assist that resident until the meal is complete or until another staff member has relieved you. It may be necessary to assist more than one resident at a time until staff becomes available. Backhanded feeding technique is not to be used. Always assist a resident using a forward hand motion. It's also important to be aware that residents who may require queuing to eat but not physical assistance may sit at a table where staff assistance is required for other residents. Be observant of the other residents at the table when you are assisting residents. Are the other residents eating? Have you greeted them? Have you asked them how their food is tasting? You can provide them with cues to take a bite, take a drink. We recognize that a resident's ability to feed oneself can change from day to day or even meal to meal. If they have an infection, an acute illness, increased confusion, and they may require more staff assistance. Any resident can receive help at any time, regardless of placemat color. It is everyone's responsibility and our jobs to be observant of all residents and assist wherever needed. At all times, encourage the residents to eat and drink fluids. If you are finding that a resident is consistently needing more staff assistance, please notify the charge nurse or dietitians. The addition of a yellow placemat or a table change may be appropriate. It was a state surveyor's observation during the most recent survey that a resident wasn't assisted, encouraged, or engaged in conversation during the observed meals. It is everyone's responsibility to ensure the residents are getting the assistance they need in the dining room. Be observant and step in and assist where needed. Residents can vary in level of assistance needed from day to day and meal to meal. You may notice that some residents will require more assistance at supper, but may be more independent with the other 2 meals. Physical assistance includes total assistance, where the resident is dependent on staff to complete the meal. Extensive assistance, which may include staff putting food on the utensil and allowing the resident to bring it to their mouth, or handing a cup to a resident allowing to drink by themselves. Prompting and queuing. Typically, residents requiring prompting and queuing are seated by residents that may require extensive or total assistance. However, this could be any resident at any time. They may need additional staff observation or cues to complete a meal. Cues could include direction on taking a bite, now chew, swallow, pick up your spoon, etc. Adaptive equipment is assessed by the dietitian and therapy to maximize independence with self-feeding. Use the provided equipment as sent. If a resident is refusing, or if you have another suggestion, be sure to tell the dietitians or the nurse so the information can be updated. Residents change daily. Please communicate with each other and pass this information to the charge nurse if you notice a resident is needing more assistance at a meal, so further assessments can be made. A pleasurable dining experience not only includes the actual serving of the meal, but also what happens throughout the meal service. Here are a few more recommendations. Focus should always be on the resident. Pay attention to distractions in the dining room. Is the TV on? Is the music too loud? Please turn the walkie-talkies to a low volume and limit the conversations unless the resident is involved in the conversation. You do not want to talk over or yell across the dining room to have conversations with other staff members. You always want to maintain eye contact when assisting a resident at a meal. Do not stand up while assisting the resident at the meal. And never scrape food on the face and refeed it to the resident. Use the cover-up or as many napkins as necessary. Be very mindful of the conversations you are having. Pay attention to HIPAA and confidentiality. You want to speak with the resident politely, respectfully, and communicate personal information in a way that maintains confidentiality. Engage the residents in conversation. You can reminisce about hobbies, past experiences, pets, farming, hobbies. You can also use this time to verbally prompt and encourage by reminding them to take a bite, now chew, swallow, etc. There are always tasks to do to help make the meal run smooth. We really want all eyes and hands on deck throughout the meal service. There's always opportunities to fill out menus, to walk around and offer beverages or to refill beverages. We do ask that meal intakes not be documented until the resident has been served, assisted, and completely done with the meal. You cannot assume that a resident is going to eat a certain item or not. Be observant when you're walking around and aware. Offer substitutes if you see a resident isn't eating very well. Step back and analyze. Does that resident need more assistance to complete the meal? There should be a nurse supervisor in the dining room present during the meals. They are there to help ensure a smooth meal service by observing and answering questions and addressing situations as they arise. They are also able to delegate duties as they see fit. An example may include asking you to sit down and assist a resident that may not be your resident. At the end of meal service, you want to confirm that the resident is done with the meal by asking, "Are you finished with your breakfast? Is there anything else I can get you before I bring you back to your room?" Offer to clean their face and hands before bringing them back. Remove their cover-up and assist them back to the neighborhood. As you know, eating does affect weight. When you weigh a resident, please be aware to notify the nurse and dietitian if a weight differs by 3 or more pounds from the previous weight.